Hello, Joni Rotten here. I want to read this article from the New Atlantis, Evolution and the Illusion of Randomness, Survival, Fitness, and Purposiveness of Organisms. This is from the fall of 2011. Be forewarned, I mispronounce a lot of words. Most biologists, I suspect, will happily own up to the fact that they think of the organism as engaged in strikingly directed and meaningful activity. The lion stalking the gazelle, the bird building a nest, the larva spinning a cocoon, the rose flowering, the cell dividing and differentiating, the organism maintaining its own way of being amid the perturbations of its environment. They all reflect a kind of intentional pursuit we would never attribute to dust, rocks, ocean waves, or clouds. Biologists, that is, will acknowledge that at molecular and higher levels, they see almost nothing but an effective employment of 1,000 interwoven means to achieve 1,000 interwoven ends, all in an almost incomprehensibly organized, coordinated, and integrated fashion, expressing the striving of the organism as a whole. The organism, they will say, as it develops from embryo to adult, as it socializes, eats, plays, fights, heals its wounds, communicates, and reproduces, is the most concertedly purposeful entity we could possibly imagine, and does not merely exist in accord with the law of physics and chemistry. Rather, it is telling the meaningful story of its own life. And then they will take it all back. In other words, the routine language of biological description highlighted in the earlier parts of this series is fully accepted, only to be effectively disowned. The explanation for this remarkably intellectual flexibility lies in the widespread view that runs as follows. Evolution produces organisms that we cannot help describing as purposeful and meaningful agents. That is because natural selection tends to select organisms that are fit, well adapted to their environment, and designed for surviving and reproducing. When organisms have features that are adapted for something, we naturally see these features as meaningful and purposeful. And an organism compounded of such features seems to be an agent with a goal of some sort, if nothing else. It seems to act intentionally in order to survive and reproduce. This agency, however, is said to be more of a matter of appearance than a fundamental reality. While meaning and purpose may somehow emerge during the course of evolution, they emerge from processes that, at the most basic level of explanation and understanding, know nothing of them. Certainly, as the rather strange conviction runs, meaning and purpose play no role in the evolutionary mechanisms that are so expertly given rise to. Perhaps the brashest and most publicly effective advertisements for this entrenched view have arisen from Richard Dawkins and Daniel Dennett. Dawkins is a biologist and award-winning Pulitzer of conventional evolutionary thought, having produced such bestsellers as The Selfish Gene, 1976, The Blind Watchman, 1986. Dennett, philosopher and deconstructor of consciousness, wrote about evolution in his widely influential book, Darwin's Dangerous Idea, Evolution and the Meanings of Life, 1995. The two authors immensely admire each other's work. Dennett in one of his characteristics remarks, assures us that through the microscope of microbiology, we get to witness the birth of agency in the first macromolecules that have enough complexity to do things. There is something alien and vaguely repellent about the quasi-agency we discover at this level. All that purposive hustle and bustle, and yet there's nobody home. Then, after describing a marvelous bit of highly organized and seemingly meaningful biology activity, he concludes, love it or hate it, Phenomenon like this exhibit the heart of the power of the Darwinian idea. An impersonal, unreflective, robotic, mindless little scrap of molecular machinery is the ultimate basis for all the agency and hence meaning and hence consciousness in the universe. Or we can listen to Dawkins. Rather, in nature, there is sufficiently powerful illusion of good design for some purpose. Natural selection is the only known mechanism that can account for it. And natural selection, the blind, unconscious, automatic process which Darwin discovered and which we now know is the explanation for the existence and apparently purposeful form of all life, has no purpose in mind. It has no mind and no mind's eye. It does not plan for the future. It has no vision, no foresight, no sight at all. The general idea then looks something like this. A true nature of things is evident only at the bottom, and so we must understand life from the bottom up. What we find at the bottom are scraps of molecular machinery. Through the power of natural selection, which operates like a mindlessly mechanistic algorithm, Dennett, or a blind, unconsciously automatism, Dawkins. These low-level molecular machines slowly evolve to kind of an apparently purposeful, complex entities we recognize as organisms, including ourselves. Whatever we are to make of this appearance of meaning and purpose, including our own intentions as I write this and yours as you read it, we are both urged to shed our prejudices and acknowledge that we, with our intentions, somehow arise from more basic underlining processes that are essentially dumb, meaningless, and mindless. Of course, questions come to mind. Is the universe so schizoid or compartmentalized that any truth we observe at the bottom, whatever that means, must be proclaimed real, while the truth at other levels is unreal and illusory? This would be a particularly odd position to take in biology, where characteristic explanation runs from high-level context to low-level part, as we saw in the previous installments, the unbearable wholeness of beings from fall 2010, and what do organisms mean, winter of 2011. And if we really did find the root essence of things only at the bottom, then where would we locate Dennett's presumed scraps of mindless machinery amid the extraordinarily non-machine-like and indeed scarcely material quantum weirdness that has so preoccupied physicists for the past century? Physicists are the last people in the world with reason to claim mechanistic behavior at the bottom. And in fact, some among them have been long driven by their own subject matter to reflect upon the mindful universe. As for the organism, are its apparently meaningful strivings meaningful or not? If they are not, if, for example, the appearance of purpose is an illusion, as Dawkins puts it, then what is the difference between merely illusory purpose and the real thing? Perhaps he will say that there is only illusion. But then, if there is nothing for the illusion to be a convincing illusion of, if there is nothing, right, let me say that again. Perhaps he will say, there is only illusion. But then, if there is nothing for the illusion to be a convincing illusion of, it hardly makes sense to say it is an illusion at all, as opposed to being just what it seems to be. On the other hand, if Dawkins admits that meaning and purpose actually exists, are realities, and are therefore available to be mimicked in an illusory way, what grounds does he have for claiming meaninglessness and purposelessness is fundamental to the world's character? And I'll read the next section next time.